When the system fails you, your story becomes your power. I want to talk to you today about something that does not get discussed nearly enough in rooms like this. I want to talk about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you do not. When the system that is supposed to serve justice serves you betrayal instead. And when the person you tried to save becomes the reason you lose everything. I recently sat down with Chari Reynolds, a woman whose story is not just about survival. It is about the audacious, defiant act of reclaiming power when everything, and I mean everything, has been stripped away. Chari is not just a survivor, she is a force. She is a living testament to what it means to stand in your truth, even when the world tries to silence you, to rebuild, even when the foundation has crumbled twice, and to demand justice, even when the system treats you like you are disposable. Her work, her voice, her relentless pursuit of accountability is making the world a better place. One story, one boundary, one refusal to be silenced at a time. And today I want to share what I learned from her because her story is not just hers. It belongs to every Black woman who has ever been told to be quiet, to be strong, to keep moving, even when her body, her heart, and her spirit are screaming for rest, for justice, for softness. Let me be clear. This is not a story about a victim. This is a story about a woman who refused to let trauma write the final chapter of her life. Here is what happened. Chari was attacked brutally while trying to protect her mother. She stepped in, she fought back, and she paid the price. Her left arm stopped moving. For almost 2 years, she could not use it. 2 years. Imagine that. Imagine losing the use of your arm because you tried to save someone you love. Imagine waking up every single day, looking at your hand, willing it to move, and nothing happens. Imagine the frustration, the fear, the grief of losing a part of your body that you took for granted. And then imagine the detective assigned to your case doing nothing, not collecting evidence, not working the case for 9 months, not turning in a single thing until a year later in January 2024. And then, as if that was not enough, imagine the prosecutor picking up your case on the wrong side. You are the victim, but suddenly you are being treated like the offender. 14 continuances, 14 times Cherry had to show up to court, relive her trauma, and fight for her right to be seen as what she was, a survivor. And after all of that, the person who attacked her is still free, still free. Let that sit with you for a second. Chari Reynolds lost everything twice. She had to start over twice with Shanam, with a body that was not fully functioning, with a system that was not protecting her, and with a world that expected her to just keep going. And she did, but not because she had to, because she chose to. Because she decided that her story, her voice, her life mattered more than the system's failure to see her. And that is what I want you to remember today. You can survive profound betrayal and violence and still reclaim your power and purpose. The system may fail you, but your story, your voice, and your determination are powerful tools for justice. And starting over again and again is not a sign of weakness. It is proof of your resilience and worth. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, okay, but how? How do you do that? How do you keep going when the world has knocked you down not once, but twice? How do you rebuild when your body is broken? When the people who are supposed to protect you have failed? When the person who hurt you is walking around free? Let me tell you about a woman named Centoya Brown. At 16 years old, she was sentenced to life in prison for killing a man who had purchased her for sex. 16. She was a victim of sex trafficking, of abuse, of a system that saw her as a criminal instead of a child who needed help. She grew up experiencing instability, abuse, and exploitation. As a teenager, she was controlled by an abusive adult and forced into sex work. When she killed a man who had purchased her, The full context of her victimization was not adequately weighed in court. She was tried as an adult, given a mandatory life sentence, no parole consideration until her 60s. She spent 15 years in prison. 15 years. But here's the thing, Centoya did not let that be the end of her story. She earned a college degree while she was incarcerated. She wrote, she spoke, she fought. Advocates, lawyers, and organizations like the ACLU of Tennessee raised awareness about her case and about how the system treats trafficking survivors. A clemency petition was filed and widely supported, including by national groups and celebrities. And in 2019, she was granted clemency. Today, she is a speaker, an author, and an advocate for justice reform. She co authored a memoir, Free Centoya, sharing her journey from victimization to self advocacy. She took a system that tried to bury her and turned it into a platform to change the way we treat trafficking survivors and young Black girls. Centoya's story is not just about survival, it is about transformation. It is about refusing to let trauma be the final author of your story. Her case spurred national conversations about sentencing minors, human trafficking, and how the law treats Black girls. It helped inspire legislative and advocacy efforts to better protect trafficking survivors and reconsider harsh sentences for youth. And then there is Marissa Alexander. Marissa was a Black woman in Florida who fired a warning shot during a domestic violence incident. She had previously obtained a restraining order against her husband due to abuse. During an incident, she fired a warning shot into a wall. No one was physically injured. She did not hurt anyone. But instead of being protected as a survivor of abuse, she was prosecuted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. 20 years for protecting herself. Her case became a national conversation about how Black women are punished for surviving, for fighting back, for refusing to die quietly. Prosecutors pursued aggravated assault charges with mandatory minimums, a legal system that refused to recognize her actions as self defense, and even under Florida's stand your ground climate. After years of legal battles, appeals, and advocacy, her conviction was overturned. Her legal team appealed the conviction, arguing errors in jury instructions and the failure to properly consider self defense. Grassroots organizations, including Survived and Punished, organized public campaigns highlighting her case as an example of criminalized survival. Media coverage and advocacy reframed her narrative from aggressor to survivor fighting for her life. She accepted a plea deal and was released after serving part of the sentence plus home detention. And now she uses her voice to call out the ways the system criminalizes the survival. She has shared her story publicly, contributing to a broader understanding of how Black women are punished for surviving domestic violence. Marissa's story is a mirror for so many Black women. We are told to be strong, to protect ourselves, to stand up, but when we do, we are punished. We are treated like the problem instead of the solution. And that is exactly what happened to Chari Reynolds. She stepped in to protect her mother, and the system treated her like she was the one who needed to be controlled, managed, punished. But here's what Cherry and Centoya and Marissa all have in common. They refused to be silent. They documented, they spoke up, they kept pressing, even when the process was long, unfair, and exhausting. And that is what I want you to take away from this. When detectives, prosecutors, and systems do not do their jobs, you are not powerless. You can document, speak out, organize, and keep pressing. Your life matters enough to fight for justice, even when the system tries to make you feel disposable. Now, I want to talk about something that does not get discussed enough, the idea that Black professionals and entrepreneurs can build from the rubble, not just from success. We are so used to hearing stories about people who started with nothing and built empires, and those stories are beautiful. But what about the people who had something, lost it, and then had to rebuild? What about the people who are starting over with less money, less support, and more scars? What about the people who are building while they are still healing? That is Chari Reynolds. She lost everything twice. She lived with a disability for almost 2 years. She faced court dates instead of business milestones. And she is still here, still building, still fighting, still creating something meaningful and impactful. And that is a legitimate, powerful origin story for a career, a brand, or a calling. There is a national organization called Survived and Punished that documents and organize around cases of criminalized survivors, including many Black women. They work with survivors of domestic and sexual violence, trafficking, and family harm who are then charged, prosecuted, and incarcerated for actions tied to their survival. They frame these stories as criminalized survival, shifting the narrative from criminal behavior to evidence of trauma and self protection. They build networks of lawyers, activists, and community members to support individual survivors and push for structural change. And they have successfully participated in clemency and commutation efforts in multiple states. They have created language and frameworks that allow survivors to see their experiences reflected and validated rather than erased. They have developed public toolkits, reports, and campaigns spotlighting criminalized survivors. They have helped shift public and professional understanding of survivor defendants, from problem cases to people deserving of justice and healing. They have influenced advocacy strategies for lawyers, organizers, and communities working on criminal justice and gender based violence. Chari Reynolds' story fits this pattern. She was attacked while trying to intervene in violence. She was left disabled, and then she faced the justice system that mishandled her case and offered punishment instead of protection. Her experience is part of a broader systemic issue affecting Black women, and collective action and storytelling can be powerful tools for reclaiming power. So here's what I want you to do differently after hearing this. First, treat your own survival as a credential, not a secret. Stop minimizing the fact that you are still here after violence, betrayal, or systemic failure. Start recognizing survival as evidence of strength, strategy, and resilience that belongs in how you see yourself as a leader. Your trauma does not get to be the final author of your story. What happened to you is real, but it is not all that you are. Second, document and advocate. Even when the system seems uninterested, keep records, timelines, and evidence of what happened to you and how the system handled it. Speak up, file complaints, seek legal advice, connect with survivor focused organizations. Refuse to quietly accept negligence by detectives or prosecutors. Accountability and justice matter, but so does self advocacy. Third, build something, however small, from the ruins. Whether it is a business, a nonprofit project, a podcast, or a community initiative, use your experience as fuel for a tangible step toward reclaiming your life and power. This could be as simple as starting a journal, a support group, or a small side hustle that is yours, not defined by your trauma. You can start again with less money, less support, and more scars, and still create something meaningful and impactful. Chari Reynolds is still fighting for justice. The person who attacked her is still free, but Chari is not waiting for the system to validate her. She is validating herself. She is building. She is healing. She is speaking. And she is refusing to let trauma have the last word. Your story is not over. Your trauma does not get to write the ending. You do. Whether you are rebuilding for the first time or the fifth time, whether you are healing from violence or systemic failure, whether you are fighting for justice or just fighting to get through the day, you are not alone. You are seen. You are valued and you are powerful. So I am asking you today, do not just listen to this and walk away feeling inspired. Do something, document your story, speak your truth, build something from your pain, demand accountability, refuse to be silenced, and most importantly, stop treating your survival like something to hide. It is your superpower, it is your credential, it is your proof that you are still here, still fighting, still worthy. The world needs your voice, the system needs your pressure, and you need your own permission to stop carrying everyone else's weight and start honoring your own healing. So go, build, speak, fight. And remember, when the system fails you, your story becomes your power.